what is the communication process for tribe? How do you communicate with tribes? I mean, as sovereign nations, because basically they have, I'll use Grand Ronde as an example, they have housing programs, they got social service programs, they got their own clinic, but without the communication plan to go and communicate with them, I know personally, and even though we're only about 40 miles from Salem, you know, we probably have veterans, I know we have veterans who basically don't come out of Grand Ronde to go to Vancouver for health services and stuff. Now, we kind of resolved that issue with World War II veterans. We used our World War II veterans as a perfect example. My dad being one of them, he was born on the reservation, he lived on the reservation. There was no way that he was going to go to Vancouver and get health services, so we worked it out so our Native American veterans can be served at our clinic. And we're working to get all veterans, and we've been working on that for a while, but hopefully we can. But there's a good example of, you know, Native Americans, and I can speak of the people in Warm Springs and Umatilla and some of those veterans who have a difficult time leaving the reservations, but they deserve the same services as everybody else. But how do you communicate with their governments to get into that type of deal?
No, that is a really good question, and we have been doing a lot of work, I would say probably in the last year, and I'm going to turn this over to Mitch, because Mitch is actually the person who has been doing all of that work and traveling across the state and meeting with tribal leadership. So
with the hiring of Sheronne will free up some more of my time. I am the designated tribal veteran representative for the agency, and working with the VA intergovernmental agency, we're starting to really engage. One was like the tribal cluster meeting we had out at Grand Ronde this last week, and talking with the VA about expanding three things really quickly. Is that number one is getting more than 3 tribal governments to sign up with the VA IHS MOU to provide health care on. Right. So right now I think there's 3. We'd like to see that expanded. We're also working with the VA to try to do some telehealth medicine in IHS facilities. We're also working with the VA Office of General Counsel to expand the ability for tribal governments to have their own tribal veteran representative offices. So right now, Warm Springs is working really closely with them. I was on a conference call last week with them. So Warm Springs, we're going to have a formal tribal consultation probably this spring or late this winter with them on setting up their own tribal veteran representative office there. So I plan this next year to be very active, trying to get out and address some of the needs and find out a little bit more about what those needs are throughout the state.
Because there was a conversation, I actually had a conversation with Congressman Schrader and Cameron about a month or so ago as to what, because the TSOs, it's going to be, them are going to be allowed under the bill that we could have ours, but is every tribe going to have one, or is it going to be a west and the east side of the mountain type deal, or has there been really any planning on how that's going to be addressed?
Well, we've addressed it. We've gone out. So for right now, Warm Springs is the next one to really to get the formal tribal consultation with, and then I plan to go down. Cow Creek has asked me to come down and talk to them. So slowly but surely, you know, our goal is either a couple consolidate services, or individually we help them stand up, train them, and get them to advocate for their own tribal veterans. So,
thank you.